how do you understand the notion of memory in relation to your text, the possible translation, and your wider research as well?
I don't understand the concept of memory. That's my main issue. I have a big issue with the concept of memory. Although I've been obsessed by this notion for the last 10 years, it's really weird how you can have like a struggle with the notion, and sometimes I hate it, and very often I go back to it. I remember a few years ago being invited to teach anthropology of memory class, and for 1 year I really enjoyed it, and then I said, okay, I'm not working about memory anymore, but now again, this year I'm teaching anthropology of memory class in Belgium, so I have a very tense relationship with memory. My issue with memory is clearly the fact that it's a catch-all notion, especially these days, like culture, identity, and the way anthropologists use these notions. It's becoming a catch-all. And you can put almost everything you want in memory, in the notion of the body, in the notion of culture. I mean, these are really expansive notions. And that's what I realized when I also wrote this paper called The Abuse of Memory, is that you can use the notion of memory to designate reminiscences, so how do people remember the actual process of having mental images of the past. But you can use also the notion of memory just as a synonym for the storage of culture, or memory as a notion that would describe the general process of transmitting culture. And that's what I found really annoying with the notion. The fact that the notion of memory was so unclear, crucial lack of clarity, but still in this paper, I'm using it in the broadest sense. And I know that I'm very aware of the fact that although I've been I try to be cautious about my use of the word. In this text, I'm using clearly memory as a synonym for cultural transmission. Memory in the sense of what is being passed on, emotions, representation, practices, values from one generation to another. But that's a very broad sense for memory, and I think we should be very cautious when we use memory, because memory in stricto sensu is what we remember as mental images. Memory is about reminiscences of the past, and I think we should be very cautious when we use those notions.
That was one of my questions as well, because you write that how do young people remember the pre-Islamic past that they never experienced? How can you remember something you never witnessed or experienced?
No, you don't remember a past you haven't experienced. That's the thing. But I see that really a danger of overextension of some notions in anthropology. Like recent books put the emphasis on memories of the slave trade. How can anyone remember slave trade in Africa today? It's not about remembering as an active process. It's not, no one could be a witness of slave trade. What those scholars want to emphasize is the transmission of certain ideas, practices from the past. It's the persistence of elements, and in the case of slave trade, of traumatic events in the present of African societies. But it's not about remembering, it's about persistence. And I think we should clearly make a distinction between memory as remembering, memory as the process of remembering, and memory as persistence. And anthropologists tend to use memory as persistence a lot. If you compare a definition of the notion of culture 50 years ago and notion of memory today, it's very similar. The way anthropologists do use them and define them. So there's really an entanglement of notion of memory and culture in anthropology today. So there is no way in which you can remember slave trade. There is no way in which the young people I'm describing in my text can remember the time of custom, so the pre-Islamic past. But still they know a lot about it. It's about knowledge. Knowledge about the past. It's not memory of the past, it's knowledge about the past.